Hey there! Ever since me and Kermie broke up, I've been spending a lot of time on Tinder. Lexi is gone for the minute, but if you guys want to see how I achieved my natural everyday Miss Piggy look, please stay tuned. Thank you! Why do I sound like Caitlyn Jenner? Hello boys and squirrels, welcome back to my channel. I decided to do something a little different today. I picked up this pig's nose at IMATS about a month ago, and I knew that I wanted to do something super fun with it. I've never really applied a prosthetic to myself. I've only used liquid latex maybe once or twice. This is not perfect by any means. There's a lot of things that I would change next time or would do differently. I figured that if I was going to do this look, I should film it for you guys. I make a super cute pig, like there's literally no denying that. So I had so much fun doing this, so I hope you enjoy watching it. So I'm gonna start off by priming my face. Y'all know the drill, you gotta prime your face so all of the makeup you're about to put on doesn't get into your pores. So now I'm going to block out my eyebrows. I have never personally used the glue stick method, but essentially you just get any glue stick from a drugstore or wherever and put that all on your eyebrows. Make sure you saturate all of the hair, and you want to get the eyebrow hair as close to your skin and as flat up against your skin as possible, so when you put makeup on top of it you can't see the texture of the hairs. Then just take any translucent powder and pack it on top. You can do as many layers of glue as you'd like to, just make sure that you powder in between each one. This is a lot harder than it looks. I thought I was gonna breeze right through it, but I didn't conceal my eyebrows as much as I would have liked to. So just really make sure that in the beginning you get all the hairs down, and try to do thin layers of glue, or else it's gonna ball up and it's not gonna look very good in pictures or just in general. Here comes the fun part! Now I'm going to put on my little piggy nose. So the prosthetic that I had already fit pretty well with my face, so I didn't have to trim it at all. But I am just going to take an adhesive. You can use Pros-Aid or spirit gum, whatever you have available, and I am putting that on my face where the prosthetic is going to touch my skin. You should also put the adhesive on the prosthetic as well. Make sure that the glue is nice and tacky, and when it is, you can apply the prosthetic. So always start from the middle going outwards. Make sure you position the prosthetic where you want it, because once you put it down, it's really hard to get it back off your face. And once you have it where you want it, just start smoothing down the edges of the prosthetic, really making sure that the glue is adhering and you get a nice clean transition from prosthetic to skin. Now take a cheap sponge, not a beauty blender because it'll get ruined, and some liquid latex, and start applying that around the edges of the prosthetic and onto your skin. The reason that I do this step is so it kind of meshes the prosthetic into the skin, and when you're all finished and everything is said and done, it looks a lot more realistic than it would if you just slapped the prosthetic directly on your face and didn't put the latex over it. You're probably going to want to do around 7 to 10 layers of latex to really build up the walls around the prosthetic. Do very, very thin layers, just because if the layers are too thick, they can get globby and they can kind of like stick to the next layer, and if they're not completely dry, then it'll like pull up off of your skin, it'll attach to the sponge, and you'll rip off all of the hard work that you just put down. So just make sure that the layers are thin and that they are completely dry before you apply the next layer. This was my first time really working with liquid latex, so it didn't turn out like amazing, but it definitely made it look more realistic in the long run, so I definitely recommend doing this step. This is my face when I realized that I forgot to powder! So don't forget to powder the liquid latex when you're done. It just takes away the shine that the liquid latex naturally has and kind of gives you a good base to start putting on foundation. Okay, so now foundation. You can use any foundation you want. I would recommend using a thicker foundation just so you can kind of cover up the texture of the latex a little bit more, especially if yours was bumpy like mine. A thicker foundation is just gonna obviously give more coverage and cover up those little lumps and bumps. I also put the foundation all over my pig's nose because Miss Piggy just has normal colored skin. For more coverage around the prosthetic, I just took like a small foundation brush and I put it in the nostril holes as well as around all the little nasal folds and everything. Cute. So I'm taking a mixture of a really light concealer shade and white. I just wanted the highlights to be like a few shades lighter than my natural skin tone, and I'm just putting that everywhere that I would normally apply a highlighter. So under my eyes, my chin, and the top of my nose and my forehead. And then like I normally would, I'm just going to blend that out with a wet beauty blender. So I didn't like how I could see the prosthetic on like the sides of my nose, so I took that same mixture of concealer and I put that on the sides of my nose to kind of hide the prosthetic. Normally, if you were trying to hide something, you would use like a darker tone to shadow it, but since it's a pig's nose and not like a human nose, I don't know, I just threw the concealer there because that's how I would normally like make my nose look thinner, and it just kind of ended up working, so yay me. Keeping along with this whole highlight theme, I also highlighted around the nostril holes, on the very top of the pig's nose, the tip of the nose, and then kind of up the bridge of my nose. I then applied some powder to lock everything into place. And now I'm going to take a very, very light brown shade and kind of put it in the creases of the prosthetic. When I did the highlights and the foundation, it took away a lot of the depth that the prosthetic had by making it all one color, so I wanted to add some of the shadows back into it. I added shadows in the little folds on the actual nose, and then I also added them into the nostril holes. And I did each side of my nose like if I was normally contouring my own nose to kind of thin it out. I just used the same method and it worked out pretty well. It kind of brought the prosthetic to life. I was pretty happy with how the face looked, so I moved on to Miss Piggy's eyes. I just took an old like pink lip liner and I was looking at a reference picture while I was doing this. I just kind of mapped out where I wanted the eyes to be, and because Miss Piggy has really big eyelids and she wears pink eyeshadow, so I just kind of drew on some eyelids on my actual eyeball. This doesn't have to be perfect because it's just a raw outline, and we're going to add eyeshadows in the middle of it in just a second. So I'm taking this palette and I'm applying a hot pink shade over my entire lid, up over my eyebrows, and just basically everywhere that I mapped out with the pencil. I didn't use a primer just because I already had like foundation over my eyelids, so you can use a primer if you'd like to. Now it's time for some sexy Miss Piggy liquid liner. So I started just lining my eyes as normal. I was kind of looking at a reference picture of Miss Piggy's eyes. I outlined them just to kind of add some definition. And she has like very downturned eyes, so to give that illusion, I made my eyeliner thicker towards the inner corner of my eye and then thinner as it came outwards. I also added some white liquid liner underneath my eye to kind of give that like extra cartoonish look, and then also outline that in black just to really make it pop. I'm applying some mascara to my natural eyelashes before I put on falsies. And while you're waiting for your lashes to dry, you might just get a text from your ex-boyfriend.
What the hell does Kermit want?
Then I just took a black pencil crayon eyeliner and lined my tight line. I just think this makes the lash band look extra thick and dark, and especially when you're doing cartoon eyes, I think it makes them look a little more two-dimensional and more convincing. I also put a little black eyeliner on the outer corners of my lower waterline. Now that you're all done with your eyes, you can start to contour your sexy pig face. I just took my normal contour shade and applied it like underneath my chin. Miss Piggy has a very round face and a very defined chin, so I just tried to do that general shape of her face. I don't know if Miss Piggy normally has rosy red cheeks, but I just thought it would be cute with this look. So initially I took a red powder blush, but it just wasn't working the way that I wanted to. So I took a red cream paint and put it on with an old beauty blender and just blended it out all over my cheeks. And the last step in this transformation is to throw on a sexy blonde wig, strike a Miss Piggy approved pose, and get a fan, or not, it's up to you. But anyways, thank you for watching!